They're just looking at sales, marketing, sales, marketing. It's not always about sales and marketing.
I'm tired of people telling, I'm going to show you. Screw it.
At the end of the day, a lead is just an opportunity that allows someone to try to offer the value that they have to offer. I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for myself. I'm doing it for the future. I'm doing it for the legacy game that I'm looking to build.
This is what tells me that these marketing gurus don't really understand marketing.
That a lot of these agency owners and presidents shouldn't be involved as much as they are in the day-to-day operation and still see the same amount of success through modern technology and monitoring.
Every article I've ever written, transcript of every video, every podcast, all of that, and creating an AI version of me private to my community so that if they're going to go prep for a sales call, they have questions and they can't get on my calendar, they can go ask that. And with reasonable certainty, they're going to get exactly how I would handle that situation when we go in. I've already got the audience, and rule number one in marketing is build the audience, introduce the product.
A lot of these AI bots and the chat bots where you can call and you build out the different scenarios, those aren't evolving. Those aren't continuously learning and improving. It's only data entry.
Be yourself, be your own identity, build your own unique footprint in the industry. There's plenty of business for everybody. Let's take this entire platform and engine, and instead of talking about it, we're going to show it. I put it out there. I memorialized it in writing today. My goal for 2026 personally is to write $1 million in new business revenue, and I'm going to document every single meeting, every single account, instead of me saying this is why you should do it because this is how it was back in the glory days when I was a producer. No, this is what I did, and here's the video where I did it. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Power Producers Podcast, where we are refining and redefining the sales game. Today, we have a guest that is kind of a but not even it's a repeat guest because you and I originally met at the Go Big event up there in Syracuse. Man, I think that was like 3 or 4 years ago at this point. I don't remember. How long ago was it?
I believe it was 2022.
Yeah, I think it was like 3 years ago. Holy cow, it's been a long time. But that is Mr. Craig Bender. He is the founder of Insure You Too, what is it, Enterprises? Is that what you said?
Enterprise. It's a collective of many different ventures all wrapped up into one, and that fully supports the insurance industry.
All right, cool. So let us have it, man. Talk about it. What's been going on? I mean, we saw each other at ITC, not this past year, but the year before, me fresh off of a hurricane, where we did kind of like a mock podcast interview up there at the agents event, but really have been seeing you pop up here and there, but haven't really gotten a grasp as to what it is you're actually doing. So I'm kind of excited to hear about that. I mean, I did see that you were hanging out with Rick Lindsay, in his helicopter and other, like, I don't know, man, that guy should not be in the insurance industry. He should be sponsored by Red Bull.
I mean, absolutely. Rick Lindsay has the absolute heart of gold. I mean, when you talk about relationships and what's actually possible inside the insurance industry and seeing what Rick has truly built from the ground up, I mean, I think it's right on par with what's actually possible in the insurance industry. And I think that, I mean, just to go down a few different verticals, right? So when we talk about changing the game, David Crothers, you have changed the game for commercial insurance, right? The amount of knowledge that you have brought to producers and to be able to bring that level of professionalism, that's what it's all right. That's what it's all about, right? So just overall looking at what do we do as far as Insure You Too, right? So we have a few different verticals. It originated with marketing, right? Being able to emphasize that we can insure you too. Very modern, sleek look, but taking that to the next level to say, hey, how can we help other insurance professionals and organizations generate business online organically? So at that point, we started really focusing on the marketing aspect and just simply doing everything that I was doing when I was a producer and I was at my mom's agency to be able to generate real potential prospects. So throughout that phase, we had multiple different avenues of just the different ways that we would market. But one common factor that what we were really coming down to is the aspect that the conversation can always be around, is it the leads or is it the producer? right? At the end of the day, a lead is just an opportunity that allows someone to try to offer the value that they have to offer. So one aspect of how can we really increase that closing ratio or the closing percentage, or looking at ways to utilize technology to really empower these producers to work like an expert. And that's where we started evolving and ultimately just designing the process of what artificial intelligence would look like throughout that actual producer's journey, right? So what would the user interface look like? How would it even actually work? And what would be the logistics of it? And that's where we eventually developed Insure You Too AI, which actually provides real-time guidance for insurance professionals. So there's many softwares out there that like do a review after a call, but this is like having, imagine if we put David Crothers' knowledge base into this software, it would look like all of your producers have David Crothers on every single phone call.
That's wild. And I do want to go back and clean something up quick. I do think Rick Lindsay needs to be in the insurance industry. I don't think that he has no business in it. My point was the dude's a wild man, and whether he's flying a helicopter or a jet or whatever else, like it cracks me up. But you want to talk about somebody who's revolutionized. He certainly has. And, I always tell people he's probably one of my favorite follows on LinkedIn, because you never have to question where Rick Lindsay stands on anything. Like, it's always made very apparent and obvious. So I just want to make sure, if you guys want to see somebody high energy that knows a lot about insurance, owns an insurance company that's doing things completely different than everybody else has, but still has a little bit of a wild streak, follow Rick. He's a worthwhile follow for sure. So anyhow, no, but so let me ask you this, man, because there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of noise in the marketplace right now. People that think that they know the best way, and if you're not following their way, then everybody else is stupid and nothing works, and this, that, and the other. And most of these people are coming from the marketing world with limited insurance experience. I'm interested in your thoughts, people, because I can guarantee you, man, if you've gotten any traction with this, you've already had shade thrown at you. And if you haven't, it's coming. Just be ready for it, because once you get to a certain point, shade just comes with the territory. I have as many people that hate me as like me, and they have no valid reason whatsoever for not liking me other than I'm doing something they wish they could do. And they probably could if they applied themselves at the same level that I do, but that's their business, not mine. But I hear people say it all the time, and I can tell you what's going to come is, oh, here's another, and this is not me saying this is experience telling me what you're going to hear. Oh, here's another failed producer that couldn't make it selling insurance, so now they're going to go out and tell other agents how they can do it. And what happens to me is, oh, here's a guy who obviously doesn't have a successful agency, isn't producing enough, so he has to go out and monetize his peers. No, I'm sorry, that's exactly not what I'm doing. It's called vertical integration. And if you look at everything that I've built, the foundation is my role as a producer in the agency. And I monetized the training program that I developed for my own agency. We built community around that. But if you look at Crushing Content, Policy T, some of these other things that we have, we're meeting needs that agents have. I've already got the audience. And rule number one in marketing is build the audience, introduce the product. Right. So it cracks me up, because I feel like there's this whole subset of people that have appeared out of the sewers or wherever they came from that want to throw shade at people who have been very successful in the industry for a sustained amount of time. And they act like just because they showed up that they're better than everybody else. My answer is, let's compare K1s and see who's on top. Let's get our tax returns out, and if you have a reason to be talking shade to me, then you can talk as much as you want. Until then, shut your mouth and go finish building whatever you're trying to build.
Yeah, I absolutely, I love that. And I love you, David, because it's the real and it's the authenticity, right? So one aspect is individuals, like, for example, you had said something a little bit earlier on, was the aspect that you hear me pop up there and here. And it's really just because I truly feel like I don't need to talk as much, right? So individuals that have to post multiple times a day, and individuals that have to keep trying to post content, but their followers haven't increased, the viewership hasn't increased. It's just stayed consistent. So what really are you doing, right? So we understand that in the sense that for me, I'll post here and there. We roll out different marketing, but it's just marketing with purpose. And for the aspect of looking at it where every individual that leaves the insurance industry to try to bring an alternate solution to the insurance industry, in my personal opinion, I think a few different things. The one aspect of how you approach it, David Crowther's approaches it, is genius, right? Because at the end of the day, you wouldn't be able to have all of those other verticals if your main insurance vertical was not successful. So anyone that thinks other than that is, it's respectfully, it doesn't even deserve to sit at the table, right? Because you don't have that level of understanding of how this game really works. Then from the aspect of how I look at it, where I've heard so much noise, but at the same time, the noise is irrelevant to me because I can stand toe to toe with our software, with any other software, to really demonstrate what are these KPIs of what we're actually offering. And the one aspect is that when we talk about artificial intelligence, everything's been artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence has been around since the 90s, but it's nothing new. But you start to see individuals using it as buzzwords, and nonetheless, especially when you see insurance professionals that are, I guess now, journalists, because when they make a Facebook caption or a post and it's like 3,000 words long with all these emojis and the grammar, the punctuation. And it does blow my mind on how you could be a really successful producer and not use artificial intelligence for those captions, or you're using artificial intelligence for the captions and it's really not that authentic. So it's looking at the real versus real type of space that I really don't let anyone get to me, or I don't pay too much mind. I understand the competition. I understand what's possible and the technology and what a real solution is. And from the standpoint of, I never left the insurance industry, as we actually just recently opened up a whole new operation for insurance sales, right? So now it's actually, instead of leaving the agency to say, hey, I was able to write multiple millions in premium, to then say, hey, now we're going to do, this is how we were marketing the solution. The artificial intelligence is going to be the new way to actually empower people to close the business or help the clients in the best way possible. And now we're going to do it from scratch with setting a new consistent or a new bottom line level of what would a brand new insurance agency as of 2026 look like, and be able to scale to with all the right tech stack and the modern solutions.
Yeah, and I think, the other thing is, when you're talking about, and going back to the marketing, and I'm going to close the loop on this, one of my favorite things that I get hit with is all these people are out here putting up content for other insurance agents, like it's some, like they're going to actually be able to build a business or do this or do that. All they're trying to do is monetize their peers. Here's the thing, man. When you have an audience of agents, this is what tells me that these marketing gurus don't really understand marketing. Okay. Which, by the way, I do have, graduate level education and an undergrad in marketing. So it's not like, I don't know anything at all. Granted, what the world we're in today, you almost have to be almost 100% self-taught through exploration, trial and error to get everything dialed in, because it's just not the same as it was, 30 years ago. But at the same time, I look at it this way. If I'm helping producers and I show that I'm getting wins with producers, and I go in and share things that are going to help them get better, when they have a family member who has a business or has relocated to Florida, or they have a friend or a client or whatever else, who do you think they refer that business to? And that
All day long.
100%, because they know that I know what I'm doing. They know that we're going to take care of those people for them exactly the way that you would expect that we would take care of them if you listen to the podcast. And I mean, we get attribution on every single lead that comes into this agency. I know where everything comes from. So if it's a referral, I bet you we get 3 to 4 calls every day. Hey, an agent and such. We had two yesterday. Two different agencies in Tennessee had referred people to Florida Risk that were buying a secondary home down here or whatever else. And it's like we attributed over 150,000 in commissions last year in 2024 just from me speaking, going, having the podcast, having the YouTube channel and all of that. And that's all really dark social that unless we specifically said, where did you hear about us? How did you get to us? Or they offer that, we would have no way to attribute it. So who knows what it really is? If we miss asking or whatever else, it might be over 200,000. But I'm not going to quit putting up content that helps other agents. If I don't do it, who is? Like, there's not a lot of resources out there. When I was the main reason I do it isn't even for the fact that we can get referrals or I could grow the podcast or whatever else. There was no such thing as a podcast when I came up as a producer. There weren't people who had been successful along the way that were willing to put themselves out there to show you how to do what they do to make them successful. And right before I started my recording block today, I put out a special edition of my LinkedIn newsletter, and the title of it was 2026 is my year to show. I'm tired of people telling, I'm going to show you. Screw it. As far as, and I mean, no disrespect. I've got a lot of friends that are coaches or advisors or whatever that are no longer in the game, but they do that. And they're good at what they do. And they were successful when they were producers, right? So I mean, no disrespect to them, but to my knowledge, I'm the only one that's in the trenches getting beat up every single day. I would say Micah and Trey from Max Revenue are as well, but I don't necessarily think those guys have gone full blown, hey, let us coach. It's more sharing information, and they built a really incredible community. So no shade at them either whatsoever. But, as far as looking at coaches out there, they're not out producing. They're not running agencies. And I finally realized, you know what? I've been building the podcast, as I've been building Killing Commercial and Power Producer Basecamp and Recording Protege and all of that. Every ounce of that was born out of COVID. That's it. Like, if COVID wouldn't have happened, you and I wouldn't be talking right now. I wouldn't have gone anywhere to speak. I wouldn't have the podcast. I wouldn't have written a book. I wouldn't have Killing Commercial. I would still be out producing in my agency. But when we weren't able to go out and call on people, the agency became more efficient. You weren't really growing like crazy because people were scared to make moves. So I built other revenue streams to insulate me from something like that happening again. And now after 5 years, I'm like, you know what? Let's take this entire platform and engine, and instead of talking about it, we're going to show it. I put it out there. I memorialized it in writing today. My goal for 2026 personally is to write $1 million in new business revenue. And I'm going to document every single meeting, every single account. Instead of me saying, this is why you should do it because this is how it was back in the glory days when I was a producer. No, this is what I did. And here's the video where I did it. Here's the conversation I have. And you can hear the intentional inflection in my change in my voice. You can see that I ask the question. You've heard me tell you I ask people all the time. We're going to make it in real time. And then what I'm going to do is, my goal is, I bought a thing of Scepter cigars from Cohiba, right? There's only 750 of them in the world. It was a case of 10 of them, and it was $1,500, $150 cigar. Every time I close an account that's 100, every time, I don't even say an account, every time I hit 100,000 in revenue, I'm going to pull one of those out and I'm going to light it up and I'm going to sit and talk about how I did all of that and record it on a YouTube video walking you through everything I did to get that deal done, exact tactical specifics, cut to recordings if I have them, cut to audio of phone calls, all of that stuff. But I'm going to produce that and put it out. And there's not going to be any secrets, because right now what I do know, there's a bunch of BS out there of people who have never done anything to validate that they were ever successful other than running their mouth, and they're keyboard warriors that would never talk to you the way that they do in person. And I invite them to, look, I'm open for healthy debate. If you want to bust my nuts, you can do it. Just do it to my face. Because I am going to come back at you 99.9% of the time. It cracks me up, man. We've gotten into this virtual world and it's insane. So the only reason I even went down that rabbit hole is you're getting ready to drop something. So it's coming, brother. It's coming. The whirlwind's coming for you.
Absolutely, and you know what I really love is that this game at the end of the day is about longevity, right? So it's not a short race. So one like when you're expressing the plan, the beautiful thing about this all is the plan that you just expressed for 2026 is by I would imagine by halfway through 2026 to 2027. I'm going to be able to get to watch that because it's about consistency. It's about following through. It's about just saying, hey, this is the plan. This is the roadmap. What's phase one? Boom, 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 and just taking action. So I think that there's a lot of individuals that'll take a lot of time and speak about something rather than just taking the actual action. So for me, I never look at, truthfully and respectfully, I look at it as I have zero competition. It's me versus myself. But then it's also looking at the aspect that I do have to stay pervy to what's out there and what they're actually working on. But at the end of the day, there was one of the best quotes that I've ever heard that it probably just changed the direction of where I was headed was earlier on. I was probably maybe like, I was in my early teens and I heard a quote from Will Smith on one of the podcasts that he stepped on. And Will Smith had said, and this was in reference to competition, it's either that they're getting off the treadmill or I'm going to die on that treadmill, right? So because it's all decision based. I'm going to make a decision whether I'm going to quit what I'm doing or I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing, or I'm just going to keep doing it day after day after day. And I've stayed so consistent for the last 5.5 years of building Insure You Too, brick by brick by brick. And I don't have to express it to the audience throughout the building phase, truthfully, because I look at it as that I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for myself. I'm doing it for the future. I'm doing it for the legacy game that I'm looking to build. So what I post on Facebook or Instagram or social media, it's out of pure love, me trying to express what I'm doing or how I'm doing it. But it's more or less like the relationship aspect. Rick and I having a good time, or us going to Pebble Beach or Ryder Cup. So it's looking at all those different events that we do. Is I'll share little moments. I truthfully want to do more and post more, but other than that, it's really just focusing on building brick by brick. And whenever you're ready, I would just love to dive into the aspect of what do you think of art, not what you think of artificial intelligence, but when you hear when you hear individuals speaking about artificial intelligence making an impact with producers, what is the first segment that you look at or that you instantly think of that you would see the most value?
That's actually a really good question. So that's not where I thought you were going to go with it. So I'm going to answer where I thought you were going to go with it first, and that sort of sets the foundation for the question you asked. That'll also buy me some time to think while I'm talking. But no, what I thought you were going to go with it is what's the first thing the industry thinks of, And I think that I don't know. I don't want to put a percentage on it, but I'm sure it's a fairly high percentage. You say artificial intelligence, that means chat GPT, right? I literally think the overwhelming majority of the industry correlates AI to chat GPT. They're not,
Okay, yes, yeah.
yeah,
Yep,
they're not,
100%.
they're not looking at it as all of the other things that AI really has the ability to do. And so, for me, when I think about what, there's different angles that I look at this from. I look at it from the angle of what does AI mean to me as an agency principal? Well, for one, it gives me the ability to streamline a lot of operations, right? So one of the things we've done in 2025 is I did something I swore I would never do, but I did it anyhow. We really have made a concerted effort to build out personal lines in the agency. I did it for a number of reasons, but the main one was my oldest son has become very good at it, and I want to support him at doing that. And so we've built that out. And one of the tools that we have leveraged some pretty cool AI related stuff to go through the process. I would say tech in general, because I wouldn't say necessarily everything's AI, but our buyer's journey is very smooth, but also very intentionally engineered. For renewals, which in Florida, I think could take a dramatic amount of time, away from us writing new business, we decided we were going to engage with Refocus. And Colby has built a really cool product that will take almost all of that renewal work completely off our plate. We set the threshold. renewal comes in and it's higher than our threshold, they will automatically go out and use their AI to go to individual carrier websites, get the quotes for us, and they return back 95% of the quotes are bindable. They're that accurate. And so for me, as an agency principal, that is an awesome investment in AI. I think my peer group would look at that and say, oh man, that's another monthly bill. What they don't ever look at is how much more payroll are you able to divert to revenue bearing activities or just get rid of completely and add into building more in your marketing or your advertising or whatever else to grow top line. So from an agency principal standpoint, things that they have developed to enhance workflows and increase accuracy and efficiency are always going to capture my attention. That's number one. Another one would be Blue Pond. You know, I can take Blue Pond and I've got an account right now that I'm waiting on one more quote to come in. It's a larger E&S renewal of mine. This was the year we needed to market it. I can take all of those quotes and dump them into Blue Pond, and it's going to give me a spreadsheet and do a comparison and save me a ton of time with all the stuff I have going on where I can just glance at a spreadsheet and look for the exceptions between each of the quotes and make a decision relatively quickly. As a community owner, and where, with us building the learning management systems and things that we have inside of Killing Commercial and Power Producer Basecamp, way back when, I would have to go and record all of those videos and everything was manual with editing and then whatever homework assignments and things like that I had to type up. All of that stuff was very laborious when I was building out Killing Commercial. 2 years ago, I bought an enterprise version of Synthesia for the agency and for Killing Commercial. And now I can go in and take the transcripts of me doing a live webinar on a topic, have that create the scripting for a learning management system, pop that in with my AI avatar, with me cloned, my voice cloned, and I can build an entire learning management model in about 3 to 4 hours as opposed to a week and a half or 2 weeks, which is crazy. And I can find certain things that are hot buttons and do it on the fly. As a producer, one of the things that I think would be valuable, and this is something, and I don't want to, I think some of this is where you're headed with what you're doing. One of the things that we're doing right now is I'm building an AI, like inside of Delphi. You mentioned dumping my knowledge base. That's exactly what we're doing. Every article I've ever written, transcript of every video, every podcast, all of that, and creating an AI version of me private to my community so that if they're going to go prep for a sales call, they have questions and they can't get on my calendar, they can go ask that. And with reasonable certainty, they're going to get exactly how I would handle that situation when we go in. And so I give you those 3 different examples because they're 3 very different viewpoints of how we use it. And then the last one I would say is on the finance side, being able to use AI to do things like reconcile commissions and things like that in the agency and removing human error and expense from that is also another huge one. And you end up picking up lift in efficiency, but also in the accuracy of finding things that you're missing. So there's 4 examples.
Absolutely love that. And it's all efficiency, right? So one aspect that when I'm going to let you, this is where we're going to separate, right? We're going to separate the aspect of what Insure You Too AI does with any other AI software out there. So what you had mentioned, which I think is awesome, is that you're building out that knowledge base for your clone. So that way, if your community can't reach you, that's where they're going to then be able to go to your clone and ask it multiple questions. What we specialize in is instead of having that clone in a location where they can go and ask the question, we take that knowledge base and we actually put it on a application that will sit on their desktop. So when they're actually on the phone with the client and they're having the conversation in real time, David, in 0.5 seconds, in a half a second, we can populate with a quote of what would David Crothers say in this specific moment. Is it a objection handling moment? Is it an account rounding opportunity? If someone's looking for a homeowner quote, it then can populate if they're licensed for life and health to then say, oh, would you like mortgage protection with that? Now you're writing life insurance with the homeowners. And what it's doing is it's creating that new bottom line and giving that David Crothers experience, right? Your knowledge base base, to all the producers inside your community, to legitimately hold a new standard that the software is never going to miss the opportunity once that opportunity is placed inside of the knowledge base. So from that standpoint, it's like providing every time that someone says one specific statement, it's going to 10 out of 10 times provide that objection handling or the account routing opportunity or the best practice, right? So just there's 5 main verticals inside the insurance industry, as you know: new business, renewals, service, claims, billing. So right from that standpoint, we could design the software, and we have designed the software in all of those verticals to then be able to provide real-time guidance and empower everyone to work like an expert, so that way everyone can have the same information. Isn't it the most frustrating thing when you call a company or you call an agency and you say, you want to be able to speak to someone, and at that point they say press 1 for sales, press 2 for customer service. I understand there's a routing and there's a reason for it. However, what happens if you were able to do it in a round robin and everyone had access to all the information, and the last employee that you ever trained, David, was this artificial intelligence solution? So now you're able to give it to generations and generations, and it's going to constantly get better and better and better, because a lot of these AI bots and the chat bots where you can call and you build out the different scenarios, those aren't evolving. Those aren't continuously learning and improving. It's only data entry. It's whatever information you put into that system, you're going to have to keep updating it. So when you have a lot of agents that say, hey, check out this AI, check out this AI, why I say that ours is 100%, it's like the professional in the, if you compare it to the major leagues and the minor leagues, ours is AAA major because of that aspect, that it's truly going to grow with you as years go by. And what's going to happen is individuals that invest with the software and purchase the software and start to use the software, they're going to realize very quickly that an alternative solution is going to push them back 1 to 2 years or however long it's going to take them to realize that they're going to have to put a lot more work into building out their chatbot than it would be just to work with Insure You Too AI and use a system built by an insurance professional for insurance professionals inside of this incredible industry. So I look at it as, from what you said, perfect, and just to be able to differentiate where we stand with our software.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, man, the one thing that I didn't hear you say that would be exciting for me is the agency principal is now there should be, and I'm assuming if you haven't solved this, it's in process, and if not, and I'm giving you an idea to solve, but I could take that as the leader of the organization and see all of the feedback on a phone call that AI gave somebody, and then correlate that to whether or not those questions were ever actually asked, or those services offered, or the cross sale attempted, and then hold my people accountable. Because right now they're going to say, oh, I forgot to ask that, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do that. But if they've got something that's populating in real time, that's essentially giving them a script to operate from while they're on the call, those excuses of not knowing how to ask or it wasn't the right time go completely out the window. And it makes it really easy for you to determine who the real producers are in your operation, and ultimately how much you're going to be able to grow. Because just having something like that alone, I have to believe, even if it's only based off of the ability to upsell, cross-sell, whatever else, the lift you get by having that in place more than pays for the cost for you to invest in the software to begin with.
Absolutely. So the reason why you didn't hear that part was just because we're in podcast mode, and I'm enjoying talking to you, and I want to keep everything going. I want to have a demonstration with you, because yes, it's able to identify. So I'll just give you a quick snippet, and then I encourage anyone to schedule a demo. But I specifically want to show you the software, because yes, it will be able to do that. It will be able to identify if the agents actually asked, if they didn't ask. It'll also recognize sentiment. So tone and emotion. What was that agent positive, neutral, or negative during that call, as well as what was the client positive? Were they positive through that buying process? Were they neutral, or were they negative? So when we look at the aspect of having all of that data, you're actually able to realistically have that information at the end of the call or at the end of the month, identify the wins, see what was the most spoken about topic inside of your agency, so that you're actually able to navigate and and steer the ship in the right way. And that's what we're looking to do for the whole insurance industry, with working with reassurers and insurance and large organizations. Because if you're on the independent side, David, if you took all of your products, for hypothetically speaking, you took all of the underwriting guidelines for auto policy through all of your personal lines carriers, and you put it into the knowledge base, and when you have your son or any other producer in your agency speaking with a individual looking for auto insurance, if in 0.5 seconds, if you're able to discover, just based off of the information that was collected, what companies would already be ineligible or eligible while you're on the phone, now you don't have to quote through 5 or 6 different companies. You can go right to the direct company because you already know that it's going to be a perfect fit based off of the underwriting guidelines. So there's so many incredible aspects of how we can build this out, how we structure it. But the beautiful aspect of it is that when you look at a larger tech company, they're not offering you custom solutions. This is the software, this is the SaaS program, here you go, build it out if you want, but maybe it'll come out in Q1. Me and our company, we can do whatever you would like to do, and we're able to do it efficiently, professionally, and deliver a product that's actually going to make an impact for your agency.
Absolutely, man. So what else? I mean, not that that's not enough, but you said you had a bunch of different verticals. What else are we looking at?
So now it's taking the artificial intelligence, right? And now let's pair that with virtual assistants, right? So I think that the game in virtual assist with VAs have been diluted, or not diluted, but overpopulated as far as the source and processes, and overpaying for, and with no follow-up, no support. You have companies that want to source employment from the Philippines, Nicaragua, Colombia, and they're looking at it as just providing a source of potential talent, right? So you have these companies that say, hey, we're going to train them in the insurance world. No, you're not, because you're going to put them through a basic program, your personal lines, your commercial lines, your standard responsibilities and tasks. But when they end up getting to the agency, they're not that fluent, right? So, and I say that with all due respect, is because these companies, the VA companies, will leverage the aspect that they do pre-training, that they do have programs, and they can get them licensed and prepared for you. When at the end of the day, it's the same opportunity that anyone can have when you're bringing a regular employee into your operation. So from that standpoint, that is one of our verticals, that we provide the virtual assistants with the artificial intelligence solution, which the combination really goes best when you have to call the company for something, or you have to get follow-up information or prospecting. You at least will be able to ensure that virtual assistant can have a conversation on the phone and make sure that they stay within the guardrails of what you want them to speak about. And if they step out of those guardrails, now it's going to notify them in the same 0.5 seconds that it would do to support them. It'll let them know, hey, stop speaking about this. You're not allowed, not authorized, and put them right back into the correct location. From that side, I mentioned that we're going to be launching our insurance agency from scratch, looking at it from, hey, now we're going to take our virtual assistants, we're taking our marketing, and we're taking our artificial intelligence, and inside of the Insure You Too ecosystem, going to demonstrate what an agency would do and produce with modern technology. And at the same time, the beautiful aspect is that I'm not necessarily going to be a part of, it's going to be our operation, it's my operation, but I'm going to demonstrate that a lot of these agency owners and presidents shouldn't be involved as much as they are in the day-to-day operation, and still see the same amount of success through modern technology and monitoring. So there's multiple different avenues of us speaking about doing all these different things. At the end of the day, I'm just out here day in, day out doing it. And I'm going to highlight it the best way I can on social media, or share the information on a podcast.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, man, because the one thing that you didn't say there that I think also has a major impact on a lot of this is some of the technology that's maybe not necessarily as heavy AI based. In the example that I would give you, and I could be completely wrong by saying this, so I apologize in advance if I am, but I'm thinking specifically about Glovebox, right? And the ability to go in and offer self-service for your clients for some of those transactions. You're removing another layer of redundancy if you take the things that you don't even need a VA to do on the service end of things, and you train the modern buyer how to do business with your firm. In the group that I always reference when I talk about this are my buddies over in Orlando at Urban Young. They're $100 million in premium, and something like 87% of their clients have adopted the use of Glovebox specifically to scale their business the way that it's scaled. And a lot of what they've done, I'd say 100 million in revenue, 100 million in premium. But they went from 3 to 6 million specifically because they went all in on having an application handle the majority of their service. And when you think about adding a marketplace that will all be able to, this is where the AI would come in, scan your book of business, identify products people don't have, take the underwriting data, go out to the market for you, and then send push notifications, making recommendations or quote options. I think that there's a whole different layer to all of this that we haven't even scratched the surface on yet.
I'm not even just scraping the surface, David. I am shoveling the surface and really paving the way, because the biggest thing that someone can realistically do is overthink, or genuinely speaking, is think that they truly understand all the solutions and overlook a product like ours, and truly not see the value or even test it out to see it, where that's where they're going to have that confusion. I don't think the companies that you mentioned before, they didn't necessarily just gain that 3 million deficit by adopting Glovebox. I think that they did it by focusing back on their systems and processes and looking at more efficient ways of doing it, where that's where our software, similar concept, right? How much more in premium, right? I always advertise that that guaranteed that the software is going to recognize an opportunity for each producer that's using the software to write at least a minimum of one more policies. It's going to help identify one more policies. That'll be 150 to 300 in commission revenue that it's generating, right? So at that point, if you apply that software for the same duration that someone would apply Glovebox for, is the aspect that, yeah, you'll have that increase in premium. But when agencies and companies aren't looking at their systems and processes and the foundational layer of how their company actually operates, there's so much food that's being left on their table that they're just looking at sales, marketing, sales, marketing. It's not always about sales and marketing. It's about how efficiently and how much can we scrape as it comes through to make sure that, one, the account stays sticky, but two, that it's worthwhile to work on that account and we're getting the most out of it, and we're also giving the most value to the clients. So I think that you're right on you have your finger on the pulse when it comes down to the technology and the systems and processes, and you are a huge advocate for agency owners and provide an incredible platform for them to use as a resource. Your vacations look awesome that you throw. Maybe one day I'll catch an invite, but one of those things is the fact that you should never have to worry about any other sales coach or system or company out there that's stepping into your world of being an influencer, because at the end of the day, you're still going to do it whether or not someone has an opinion or not. So I really do think that what your ideas and concepts that you're sharing, which you're mentioning that I have not mentioned, that 100% is already thought of and incorporated, is something that we're on the same page as everything. I just want to be able to remove the general concept of that we haven't discovered it yet when it's sitting right in front of all of us, and especially on the opposite side of your screen.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I think that, and thank you. I don't worry about anybody else competing. Honestly, I'm like you, man. I compete against myself, and that's about it. You know, there's no other human being on the planet that has the ability to push me any harder than I'm going to push myself. I tried to explain that to my parents growing up, and that argument never worked. But as an adult, it works, and it's been proven over and over again. Probably specifically to my wife more than anybody else, but. You know, I think that to your point, even with the VA piece of it, it does go back to focusing on systems and processes, because if you don't have formalized systems and processes in place, what are you teaching them? What are you trying to replicate? How do you know where you actually need to augment and improve and all of that stuff? And it's the number one thing that I see because it's interesting because I think agents by and large operate like lemmings. You see a couple of people doing stuff, then you're going to join the pack, and the next thing you know, everybody's off the side of the cliff. And VAs is very much like that. There's a period of time, probably 4 or 5 years ago, I wasn't really privy to VAs. I would just had my head down working, like as I was building my agency. So I didn't pay attention to the fact that you could outsource for service tasks or do any of this stuff. But what I noticed by being involved, and I left almost every single insurance group on social media. I want no part of it. It's a distraction. And the reality is, man, you answer questions and people argue with you, and it just shows you how stupid your competition is. Because I could have a dead on the money statement, and they're going to tell me why I'm wrong. And it's some guy that runs a three-man Medicare agency that doesn't even do what I do, that's throwing their opinion out. So if you're an agent that's listening to that stuff and taking it for gospel, filter where you're getting your information from. But I learned about VAs, and what I noticed was that's what you had to do to be in the Cool Kids Club. Like VAs was the thing you needed to have in your agency so that you fit in with all of the other people. And it's like, oh, I've got 2 VAs, I've got 4 VAs. And it became these bragging rights of I've got 16 VAs that handle all of this stuff for us. And then you'd have people who would see things. And I'm not saying that there aren't agencies out there doing it successfully. We both know that there probably are. But what's happening is you got that person who hasn't ever used a VA that sees somebody who's got a bigger agency that's got 16 VAs. And what they're not telling you is it took me 7 years to get all of our stuff documented and formalized to the point we could actually run our business this way and do the things we're going to do. So you'd have an agency principal go out. They want to bring a VA in. That VA comes in. The VA companies, by the way, they're happy to sell the services, right? They don't ask the qualifying questions like, do you have formalized processes around this? What is your intention for training this person when they come in? And all the things they should be asking, they're going to put that person in there. That person is going to absolutely drown. They have no idea what it is they're doing. And VA companies are saying, this person's trained in Hawksoft. They may know something about Hawksoft, but they're not trained in exactly what our instance is and how we use it. And so you put them in there, they struggle, and now you have agents that are like, oh, that VA company sucks. Let me go to another one. Then you find out after 4 different VA companies, maybe it's not the VA company. Maybe we probably ought to formalize some of this stuff first, then take another stab at it. But by now, their appetite's completely gone, forever trying it again, and they're stuck in this death spiral. I mean, I could go on for days, man, because I've seen it on both sides of the equation. And my thing to every agent I ever talk to is be yourself, be your own identity, build your own unique footprint in the industry. There's plenty of business for everybody. Think about this, man. How many Italian restaurants do you think there are around the world, let alone just in the United States? And the overwhelming majority of them are still in business. Even though the sauce tastes a little different, some people like the way that sauce tastes versus the other one, so they're going to go there. It's no different for us in the insurance industry. There's plenty of business. Focus on what you need to do to be the most successful, what your software stack and what your technology investments need to look like for you, not what everybody else is doing, not what the guy with the 16 VAs that you always see, playing on his snowmobile in Utah instead of, doing what he needs to be doing in his agency, or maybe he doesn't because he's got them. Who knows? Regardless, we were so worried about comparing ourselves to everybody else. And I have said it since day one that I've had any visibility. If I see the industry going right, I could not go left any faster, because that's where the real opportunity is going to be. We as an industry, we latch on to these things that are buzzwords because we want to keep up with everybody, and we completely lose the vision of the entire horizon and all the other stuff that's out there. And that's where I want to focus, because I don't have any competition when I go there.
Absolutely. And when you look at it, is like, it's one of those scenarios where you're like, think about like a stadium, right? There's so many different entrances into the stadium, but everyone wants to walk down that main entrance, and like you could sit and you're standing there, or even the grocery store, or like a line at a shopping center, when it's like there's a whole nother line. Just walk on the line, right? Or everyone just stays behind that one funnel and they go to both the counters, when it's like, hey, I'm just going to stand in front of this counter because it's a faster, it's more direct, it's straightforward. And I think that is one of the avenues, is that from an influence following standpoint. Everyone wants to be very quick to follow an insurance agent that has a hurdle of 300 other insurance agents following them on their program. But in reality, that there's approximately 1.2 million insurance professionals just in the United States alone, that from that standpoint, it's like you're not even scraping 1% of the insurance industry. Your impact is 0.002% of the industry. So at that point, it's like, who are you preaching to? How are you preaching to it? So from that standpoint, we really look at it from a bigger picture. And that's why we also went international. That's why we operate in London and Asia, because of the other markets and how they also all pool into the United States. So when I'm flying to London in June, or I was in Hong Kong last November, it comes down to the aspect that it's ultimate expansion, but it's the fact that we're playing at a level that is looked upon equally across multiple different countries, not state to state, not from a industry to another industry. We're looking at it from, but with the level we're playing at, and the solutions that we could bring to the table can equally be applied to every vertical inside the insurance industry and across multiple different countries.
And it's interesting too, because there are people out there that have a thirst for that knowledge. I mean, I can tell you just from looking at the download reports on my podcast, we're heavily downloaded in the United Kingdom, Greece, and Australia, not necessarily in that order, but not massive numbers. Obviously, the US is where the majority of our listeners come from, but we have a good chunk in those three countries. I'm like, what the heck are these people even listening? Like, what do you want from me that that you have to listen to me to get? It just doesn't make any sense. But the reality is, a lot of this stuff is universally applicable.
Well, okay, yes, but now the information is applicable, but now to be able to create a legitimate solution that's applicable across multiple countries, that's the recipe. That's why. That's why it took 4.5 years building Insure You Too when we first met, that I'm going to build a legitimate solution that can be versatile across the whole industry, doesn't matter where it is, and can legitimately be used, and a simple solution across the whole world of insurance. So absolutely, it's everyone wants to listen, but who's going to have an actual tangible product to be able to offer someone that can be legitimately used and leveraged in all aspects and areas of insurance? And that's what we built.
Yeah, I just think that the average agent out there, we don't think much past our city or our state, let alone nationally, to think about things internationally. I'm naive to it. My thoughts were, well, insurance is probably different in other countries, so anything I say is not going to apply to them or whatever else. And I just never even focused on it. So to have the foresight to actually address that is a huge feather in your cap as well.
And when I post on social media and I literally tag as the location worldwide, or I emphasize like international operations, like I don't just say it to say it. Like I'm on Zoom calls with individuals from Switzerland, from London, like at the end of the day, Hong Kong, when it comes down to the aspect of like what's really out there. And when I say that the amount of work and brick by brick of what we're building is on such a larger scale than just in my little community, in either, because I'm bi-coastal. So I have residency in San Diego and then as well as in New York. So, but primary is in New York. In that sense of looking at it from the standpoint of like doing that is so that way I can reach the other countries a lot easier depending on where I am. Like this is a huge operation, and I'm very passionate about it, and I'm excited to continue building brick by brick to eventually see where we're going to be.
What have we left out, man, before we wrap up? What do you want to get out to them that we haven't talked about?
Oh, there's so much that we left out, but what I will say is that there's always more to come. I think that we should definitely do another episode down the road. I think we should connect more and genuinely, I think that we're on the same wavelength of understanding and just truly trying to do the best that we can. There's always so much more behind the covers, right? There's no way I'll ever be able to just spit everything out in the next 30 seconds. But what I will say is that for anyone that was listening, I greatly appreciate appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast and for you to have me, but also to be able to share this hour with the rest of the insurance industry that can really get a lot of value from listening and taking this next 60 minutes and just listening to what you and I have spoken about, because the amount of knowledge that they will be able to obtain will really put them not only in a better place for 2026, but to really understand that there's multiple different levels, there's multiple different verticals, and there's multiple different individuals. And just to be able to give them the confidence that this is the right outlet that would be best for all insurance professionals.
100%. We will definitely do it. You can come down and do it in person the next time you're in Tampa. But listen, I really appreciate you using the platform to make your announcement about this thing going live. I saw your post earlier today, and I hope that everybody out there does do exactly what you said. Listen and then take some action. So how do they find out more? I mean, I want to make sure that everybody has every opportunity to get connected to you, to follow what you're doing.
Absolutely. We are on every single platform that you can think of. Just type in Insure You Too. INSUREU, the number 2. I would say our website is insureyou2.club, because this is a 100% a club. It's not an association. It's not a cult. It's a club. It's a club where you come in and there's multiple different amenities that you can take advantage of, which is all the verticals that we offer. So insureyou2.club, the website is under renovations, but by the time that this podcast is released, it will be fully updated. I'll shoot you a text, David, with the updated link, just so you can get the behind the scenes. Also, just to give out a big shout out to Gravity Search, which is the absolute best website developer for an automated insurance agency website, hands down. I will take that to the grave. What they're able to do for an insurance agency and put that as your front line for the website is truly remarkable. And also hats off to Jarrell. And other than that, just reach out to us on our website. You can check out all of our offerings. Stay tuned, and most likely see more content between David and Craig.
Sounds good, man. Well, I appreciate your time with me today, and look forward to all the outpouring of love and support you get from being on here for the last hour. So appreciate your time. Hope you have a great weekend. Have a Merry Christmas for you and your family.
Likewise. Thank you, David.
All right, brother. Take care, man. We'll see you soon.